Here's some more news on the coronascam and its failed lockdowns. This was back in May. I want to get as much of these as possible. Lockdowns failed to alter the course of pandemic and are now destroying millions of livelihoods worldwide, J.P. Morgan study claims. Coronavirus lockdowns have failed to alter the course of the pandemic, but have instead destroyed millions of livelihoods. Falling infection rates since lockdowns were lifted suggest that the virus likely has its own dynamics, which are unrelated to often inconsistent lockdown measures, a report published by the financial services giant said. Denmark is among the countries which has seen its R rate continue to fall after schools and shopping malls reopened, while Germany's rate has mostly remained below 1.0 after the lockdown was eased. The report also shows many U.S. states, including Alabama, Wisconsin, Colorado, enjoying lower R rates after lockdown measures were lifted. Author Marko Kolanovic, a trained physicist and a strategist for J.P. Morgan, said governments have been spooked by flawed scientific papers into imposing lockdowns which were inefficient or late and had little effect. Unlike rigorous testing of new drugs, lockdowns were administered with little consideration that they might not only cause economic devastation, but potentially more deaths than COVID-19 itself, he claimed. There we go. So J.P. Morgan report includes graphs showing that the vast majority of countries had decreased infection rates after lockdowns were lifted. Infection rates have continued to decline even once a lag period for new infections to become visible is factored in, the report says. Second graph shows a similar effect in the U.S., showing that many states say a lower rate of transmission after full-scale lockdowns were ended. They included Colorado, Iowa, Alabama, Wyoming, Wisconsin, and Mississippi, although not all states are included. So, I don't want to read everything, so pause this if you like and read this. Move up a little bit, maybe I... So... Yes, this Daily Mail Online's slow on this tablet for some reason. So hang on, give me a minute, sorry. There we go. And here's Fox verifying the Wall Street Journal report. Donald Luskin. This is back in September 2nd. Imposing shutdowns appears to have been a large policy error from Donald L. Luskin. 6 months into the COVID-19 pandemic, the U.S. has now carried out 2 large-scale experiments in public health. Interesting, they refer to it as an experiment. First, in March and April, the lockdown of the economy to arrest the spread of the virus, and second, since mid-April, the reopening of the economy. The results are in. Counterintuitive though it may be, statistical analysis shows that locking down the economy didn't contain the disease's spread, and reopening it didn't unleash a second wave of infections. Considering that lockdowns are economically costly and create well-documented long-term public health consequences beyond COVID, opposing them appears to have been a large policy error. At the beginning, when little was known, officials acted in ways they thought prudent. But now evidence proves that lockdowns were an expensive treatment with serious side effects, no benefit to society. Basically echoing the Wall Street Journal article. You can look this up too. Yeah, they're calling it experiments. Yeah. Experiment and socially engineering us into being slaves and putting us in a sophisticated solitary confinement, many of us. Hang on. Had something else on here. There is another article, but it looks like I have to. There's another one. Why we must end. Hang on a second, give me 1 minute. Okay, here we go. There's another one. Coronavirus lockdowns. Why we must end this failed policy. The consequences of the lockdowns are claiming 10 times more lives than the coronavirus itself, or coronascam. Countries around the world are reopening after lengthy societal lockdowns. Many are evaluating what activities or organizations to reopen in phases and are preparing contingent policy responses if COVID-19 cases increase again. Second wave, if they, decide to do another false flag on us. Lockdowns are a failed policy response, are claiming far more lives than the coronavirus and will leave long-lasting scars on society. And that was probably the agenda to begin with. That and raping our economy and everything, the banksters. Lockdowns and restrictions on movement must end, and we must pivot to sustainable strategies such as voluntary social distancing, wearing face diapers. So governments are printing and borrowing money at unprecedented levels. Yeah, it's what the bankers want, really. So have you look at that. Countries that did not lock down are faring just as well as those that locked down. Read that. See that chart? Countries that did not lock down have successfully flattened the curve. So we need to share as much of this to everybody as we possibly can and start fighting this shit. Tired of it. Because of the lockdowns among the youth, deaths by suicide and drug overdose are claiming far more lives than the coronavirus. And so, among youth, the deaths from suicide and drug overdose has skyrocketed, prompting the U.S. CDC Director Robert Redfield to sound the alarm in a recent webinar. In high schools, we're seeing, sadly, far greater suicides now than we are deaths from COVID. We're seeing far greater deaths from drug overdose that are above excess that we had as background than we are seeing the deaths from COVID. A lot of kids get their mental health services, over 7 million in school. A lot of people get food and nutrition in schools. Schools are really important in terms of mandatory reporting sexual and child abuse. This is why I keep coming back for the overall social being of individuals. Blah, 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 blah. We know we don't care. So anyways, yep. All part of the plan. You could pause this and read this if you like. I just wanted to show you these headlines and that this is obviously, we already knew this, but this is really a scam. The lockdowns are another police state scheme to socially engineer us more into their coming controlled New World Order society. And there you go. Thank you.